Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are watching us from. This is what is trending today in Nigeria. Viewers, let's watch. Thank you.
Hello,
Morning.
Doctor. It's good to see you.
Good morning.
It's good to see you,
Shake
Aya.
up.
Welcome back. You
Thank
look
you
well
very
rested. And Rufai, you owe me lunch. You already know. You already know. Just collect it. Collect it so we can start what's trending.
Wait, you owe me lunch.
Let's begin what's trending. We have so many very good stories for you today, starting off with a Nigerian journalist and publisher, Dele Momodu, who is also a PDP chieftain. He has revealed that an aspirant paid $30,000 each to the 774 delegates during the presidential primaries. He also expressed regret in spending 50 million naira on the party's nomination form and vowed not to run for president again unless chosen as a consensus candidate. Momodu shared this on the Key to Keys show over the weekend and has been trending ever since. Let's take a look.
So,
would you consider running again?
No.
Why?
Experience is the best teacher. I've come to realize that there are powers that you can describe as principalities that control Nigeria.
Sure.
And unless a major political party decides to adopt me, where you have a consensus of people who say, hey, Dele Momodu is best suited to change and to lead Nigeria, then I can consider it. But if I would have to pick my money to go and buy a presidential nomination form of about 100 million sometimes, the last one I spent about 50 million buying the form. Yeah, 50 million would have bought me a property, and it was a waste. Nobody vote, not even one vote, because everything was monetized. There was one of the candidates who paid as high as $30,000 per delegate, and we had 774 delegates. Yeah. So how do you want to compete with them?
We're having this conversation. When I saw that video, I had to bring out my calculator and multiply 30,000, just like 30,000 by 774. It is a lot of money. And he, goes on to talk about how there are certain individuals in society that move around with raw cash. He said he knows people that if they ask for $500 million now, raw cash, they'll be able to bring it out, which is interesting vis-a-vis what's going on in society. What are your thoughts?
But it just shows you how some people have looted this society dry. Is it not in somebody's sewage tank that they saw over $10 million? Sewage tank. Shalanga. $10 million. When they ordered the Naira redesign, did you know how much they brought out to some people's homes? Starch Naira notes that were already going bad. Do you know how much some people spent on election and bribing people? See, I followed the sequence in the last election. One of the first big hike at the start of the year, dollar to the Naira was, I think, over 400 going to 500. After the party primaries, it surged to about 700. Do you know how much they took dollars from BDCs, Bureau de Change, that to the extent that they were giving them fake dollars during the party primaries? And we say we have an electoral process. Nigeria's presidency has become the best president money can buy. I'm not saying they don't spend money in other parts of the world. Kamala Harris' campaign raised about $1 trillion. But you saw how people raised it. She got people in there. Nigerian politics, the man at the top tries to raise most of those monies. You don't really have that big level of donation because there's no economic consideration, as it were. So the politician is forced to steal. There was a politician that said he had over $5 billion to be able to prosecute a party primaries in this country. Yes. There are people like that. So it's about the case of the highest bidder. They will tell you money is no object. So how do you want to get good governance where you have politicians talking billions of dollars just for political gains? How do you want to get good governance? How many people that have walked through the trajectory can afford to just waste 50 million naira like that on party primary form? And the PDP zone was even cheap. How much was the APC party primary form? 100 million. So that's why you can never get good governance. how do even these politicians emerge? Every criminal out there that was being looked for in America comes to Nigeria to do politics. That's why you see them, political trail, bad past, drug trafficking, narcotics trafficking, all sorts of things, all sorts of individuals. And those are people that pervade our political space. Any criminal somewhere that they're looking for is best to come and do politics here in Nigeria. Politics has become where they wash money. Even INEC that put in a barrier for spending in electoral season, INEC can't even effect the barrier. Till today, we should ask INEC, where are the audited results of all the political parties, how much they spend, and how did they verify? The country was so awash with a lot of money during that last political season that they had to send EFCC officials to be looking for those that were doing vote buying. They didn't find anybody. Was it not here we sat down and we took the story of a delegate that out of guilty conscience had to now spend the money on his community, start resharing the money he got from party primaries. Because one delegate they give you $10,000 here, $40,000. So that's the decadent form. And except which, and this is minus what the people too will collect, the 30,000 naira they collect in polling units to be able to vote. So if we don't change this monetary system of our politics, you can never get good candidates. Because those that can bribe electoral officials, those that can bribe police, and those that can bribe across the value chains will be the one that will win elections, and that can bribe thugs that will steal ballot boxes. So you can now see why Nigeria is not moving forward. And I'm sorry, it's not going to change in the next election cycle. It's even going to be worse. People will do all sorts of things.
All right, now we see why the stakes are so high when it's election cycle. I did a quick calculation when we were talking about the figures. So at $30,000 per delegate, if we use the exchange rate at 1,700 naira, that's 51 million naira. Multiply that by the 774 local government areas is 39,474 million naira. And so you can imagine, and that's just for a primary, you know, a candidate, the amount of money they're spending. And that's why you can then understand why people would do anything during election, because when you invested this amount of money to run an election, then you want to win by all means, and then all means possible. And so just like Rufai had mentioned, if we don't check how monies are spent, and even where the money is gotten from in the first place, we're going to continue having challenges. I like that you used the American election as an example. But one of the clear difference, because they spend more money in America, well, in quotes, at least what we know. But the clear difference is that there's a trace and accountability of how the monies were raised. In fact, in some instances, you would actually see where some dubious characters contributed to a particular campaign, and it raises a lot of dust. But here, one person who has no pedigree, you don't know what he's been doing for the last few years of his life, comes up with 39 billion naira and no one is asking questions. EFCC is not on their case. You just make money just like that. So we don't ask critical questions. And unfortunately, the people have been bound in poverty such that they don't want to ask questions. They just want to see the 10,000 naira paltry sum in their hands, and then they mortgage their future for the next 4 years, and then they're lamenting if that person gets in. Because at the end of the day, it's business. We had a guest earlier on who said that there are three reasons why people go into politics. One of which is to get appointment. The other is to be rewarded. And I just thought to myself, there's nothing about service. Maybe I'm being too idealistic in terms of even putting, okay, yes, service, but also hoping that you get some form of reward. And that's why we've called for, let us reduce the monetary influence in politics in Nigeria. Perhaps we'll get a better outcome of our democracy. Let us investigate people who are able to afford, being able to pay for 100 million naira for delegate nomination form, and ask where the source of their money is coming from. What have they been doing? How can they justify them having this amount of money, or even reveal the people who've donated to their campaigns? If we don't address this at this level, we're going to continue to suffer with bad leaders and also bad governance in Nigeria. All right then, Dr.
Well, thematically, I think what Bashorun Dele Momodu was talking about is the monetization of the electoral process in Nigeria, of democracy in Nigeria. In fact, that he used the word $30,000 as money that people pay to get their way through, in fact, also speaks to the dollarization of politics in Nigeria. Now, the money factor is one of the, negative factors that we have in Nigerian politics and also in democracies in parts of Africa. In fact, we may say across Africa. Now, one of the pillars of democracy is that the individual's right to choose is what is important, and it's about free choice. It's about informed choice. When people are paid to make that choice, either at the level of the primaries or at the level of the polling booth, then it's a matter of concern, as Bashorun Dele Momodu has pointed out, or Are Dele Momodu. He has many titles. He's a multiple chief. And he has the pedigree and the bona fide to talk about this. In 2011, he ran for the presidency of Nigeria. First, on the platform of the Labour Party, I think, and then there was an issue with that when they asked him to go and bring money, ironically. Then he moved to the National Conscience Party. Then in 2022, he also signaled his interest in the political process, now this time on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. So he's not talking theory. He's saying it as it is. Now, what is the matter? People should know that vote buying, whether at the level of the primaries or at the level of the political party or at the polling booth, is an offense under Section 124 of the Electoral Act as amended. But if, as Bashorun Mamadou pointed out, that, okay, people were spending up to $30,000 and they will give to all 774 local governments. Do you know that the penalty in the Electoral Act for spending money for vote buying is a miserable 500,000 naira? So people who are able to spend money, $30,000, even if you catch them, then they will come and pay 500,000. And this is why, you know, those who are familiar with the subject continue to say that, look, the Electoral Act will still have to be further amended because, and some other people say, we should have Electoral Offences Commission if we want to, create a deterrence. The other leg of it that I think should be pointed out is that we've been talking about politicians. About the people themselves.